Okay, this is Johnny Boy at Fight Hype. I'm here with the one and only Jimmy Lennon Jr. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm here in San Antonio, a big fight tonight, and it's always great to talk with you. You have so much knowledge about boxing. You challenge me in many ways, but it's always great to talk with you about it.
No, I love speaking to you. I love to get your thoughts and your opinions and everything. But let's get right into it. Jimmy, over the past several days, Terrence Crawford was stripped of the WBC. I wanted to know your thoughts about this whole situation. It was over sanctioning fees. Mauricio Suleiman, I interviewed him 2 days ago. I spoke to him about the situation. He gave me a few details, but he didn't want to really. He said, "I'll take the high road," and he doesn't want to go into it. He said that Terrence Crawford was under contract to pay those fees. They couldn't, come to an agreement. The other sanctioning bodies, he was able to make a deal with them. What do you think on the whole situation? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think like Mauricio, I'm going to take a high road, but I will say it's unfortunate for the sport of boxing. I think talking about money too much and it is not the high road. And so we've seen some kind of ugly and not so pretty things, exchanges happen here. And so it's unfortunate, but it is a reality. Um, I think there's some things behind the scenes that I have heard about that aren't necessarily public yet, which makes this an impasse. So I think both have their reasons, but I would hope that this would be out of. I don't like it being as a part of the news. There's some ugliness about it, and that's unfortunate. At the same time, this has been happening in boxing for a long, long time. My first mega fight was Tyson versus Buster Douglas in Tokyo, and as a young man, I remember uh I think it was Buster Douglas who was not going to pay, and I could be wrong there. One of the fighters, I think it was Buster Douglas, was not going to pay one of the sanctioning fees, and that became a big issue then. So this is nothing new, and it's going to continue to happen. And but I don't like to see it in the public as a part of boxing. It brings up some good questions about the role of the sanctioning bodies, but it's unfortunate. I would hope they would work it out and take the high road, both sides.
Definitely. But do you think that are the sanctioning bodies important, or is TKO's idea of a one title better than that? What do you think? What's your opinion?
Yeah, I'm going to be careful on that one also. I know a lot of people are taking sides on that.
Yeah,
And you know, I guess I'm somewhat of a traditionalist, and I do see the value of the tradition of the sanctioning bodies. For one, they're international. In fact, boxing's suffering a little bit in the U.S. and changing the Muhammad Ali Act in the U.S. is not going to affect Great Britain and Mexico and all the other places in Japan in the world where boxing is pretty hot, a big sport. So I definitely see a value of them. And but in some ways they've kind of created their own mess, by some things that happen that people don't agree with or some questionable decisions and so forth. And some of this, as you just mentioned, the ugliness of the disagreement over sanctioning fees and so forth. So um, let's hope we work it out. Um, I hope that boxing can learn, say, from MMA and UFC, where, fighters fight each other. That's a great thing. I love it that having a loss is not the end of the world. And but it's really hard when you have such a worldwide sport with boxing. That's going to be a really tricky, difficult situation, I believe.
absolutely. Now, speaking of the Muhammad Ali Act, what do you think about that? Nick Khan and Max Kellerman had a conversation, and they said that, well, not Max Kellerman, but Nick Khan said they're not looking to change it. They just want to amend it and give the fighter an option in the contract. What do you think about the Muhammad Ali Act? Should it stay the same way? What do you think?
Uh, I'm not sure what the difference is between change and amend.
Yeah.
It seems, when you amend something, you're changing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna steer a little clear of that. It's somewhat over my head, but I do like what the Muhammad Ali Act has done, years ago when it was instituted. I think it's very good for boxing. Um, uh, there again, my question is, it's just in the US. Amending the Muhammad Ali Act does not change, the sport of boxing around the world. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, no problem. And then, switching gears quickly, we have a super fight on January 31st between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. Both fighters are athletically gifted. Teo, the explosiveness, the footwork, the athleticism. Shakur, the defensive, technician. How do you see this fight playing out? Obviously Shakur is the favorite going into this. He's a 3.5 to 1 favorite. How do you see? I think it's a lot closer, but how do you think the fight plays out?
Boy, I'm with you. I think it's a lot closer than that. Wow. What a bet. What an odd right there. As I said to you on the phone, I think it was yesterday that man, when I look at Teofimo in person, he looks just very large. He's
Yeah.
a big 140 pounder, big 140 pounder. With Shakur moving up, I think the odds should be much, much, much closer. Um, but it is a super fight, and yeah, that's one to look for. I will be doing a fight the same night, and I just figured that out. You made me look it up. It'll be in Puerto Rico,
Oh, okay.
with Xander Zayas in his first defense of his title, and I think Bruce Carrington is going to be on that. Interim featherweight world champion will be on that fight card as well. These are all things coming together a little ways away from that, but we have two good fights on that night. But certainly the Ring 6 fight in New York is a super fight. It's one I'll be if I'm not there, I'll be watching on my phone and see the results of if I can't wish I could be two places at once, but I can't.
Yeah, definitely. But the one question I want to ask you is it possible for Shakur Stevenson to win on the back foot? He's moving up to 140 to take Teofimo's title. The judges aren't just going to give Shakur the belt. He has to earn it, the hard way. You have to walk through fire. Teo is explosive. He has those twitchy reflexes. I think he might be, maybe a little faster than Shakur Stevenson. Shakur may be more precise. But do you think Shakur can win a decision? He has to be aggressive, right?
Well, the odds makers, as you said, have made him 3.5 to 1 favorite. So certainly he can do that. But I agree with you that Teofimo is really fast hands. He's a quick fighter as well. He's going to be a naturally bigger fighter, a harder puncher fighter. And so, yeah, no, for me, I think I'm surprised at those odds. I think Shakur can win, and it's a good close fight that the world will be watching. And whenever I speak of, and I'll say this, whenever I think of Teofimo, I got to tell you that when he was 10 years old or so, we had a photo together. And later he brought that photo and he showed it to me after he won the world title. It was actually before he won the world title, but he was the undefeated, really great super, rising star. And he showed me, reminded me that we had met before, and that was kind of nice. So he's kind of special to me. So maybe my thinking is not so not so objective. So, but that's a great memory with him. And but yeah, I've done some Shakur Stevens fights, and he's a real talent. It's going to be a great fight.
Absolutely. This could be a legendary clash. Do you see this similar to Leonard Hearns and going back and forth and then one man taking, control in the ending of the fight?
Yeah, that's a sure is a classic, great comparison. And what a classic, series that was. Really, their first fight was really great. So yeah, it's this is a special fight with two great fighters.
Do you think the winner of this fight, they'll be the top fighter? There's so many other fighters that they can face. Devin Haney, what do who do you think will be the best fighter of this era? There's
Yeah,
one.
that is such a difficult question.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question, but we're talking about the cream of the crop here.
Yes.
We are definitely talking about the cream of the crop in a very good division of 140 pounds. At this point, I think that's a great division. 154 is a great division as well. Look at some of the lighter weights as well. So, yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't wait to see it. Switching gears one more time. Finally, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. What are your thoughts on this? Did he bite off more than he can chew, facing 6'5" Anthony Joshua? A lot of people, I think it's an 11 to 1 favorite for Anthony Joshua. What are your thoughts on this fight?
It's only 11 to 1, huh? You know what? I just shake my head. I have no idea. From Gervonta Davis to Anthony Joshua, wow, there's a big difference there.
Yes,
And I just don't. I'm incredulous that Jake Paul would choose him as an opponent. I just can't figure out why. And I think a lot of people are going to pay to see Anthony Joshua hit him and see what happens. I do have a thought about Jake Paul, and that is I really have a lot of respect for him. First of all, anyone who steps into the ring and takes boxing as seriously as he is, I have a lot of respect for him. And then to choose to take Anthony Joshua, just seems crazy. I have a lot of respect for that. I also, as a promoter, have a lot of respect for him. He's smart, he knows what he does, and he's good to his fighters. He's very good to his fight. If an event gets canceled, he'll pay them anyway. So I think he's a spoiler, and people want to perhaps see him get beat. And in the arenas, they boo him. He's the villain. At the same time, I have a lot of respect for him. So good for him for taking on Anthony Joshua. I mean, but we'll see. I think the odds should remain very large.
definitely. No, no, what happens if Jake Paul pulls out the upset, shocks the world? Do we take him seriously now, Jimmy? What do we give him his credit and finally say, okay, Jake Paul has arrived?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If he does it, hats off to him. I mean, that'll be just an amazing upset. I mentioned earlier about doing Tyson Buster Douglas, which was the odds were even greater than 11 to 1.
32 to
Uh
1, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. Maybe perhaps the greatest upset in boxing history.
Yes.
But
Sports, maybe, right? Sports history, maybe.
maybe even all of sports, maybe all of sports. But this would be a huge upset. So it is things are possible. But I don't know. That's a great it's a crazy matchup.
Definitely. And finally, my final question, Jimmy, who's your favorite fighter of all time? It doesn't have to be the best fighter, but maybe a fighter that you built a relationship with.
Yeah, it changes a little bit through the years, and it's hard to pick one. Julio Cesar Chavez, I had such a nice connection with him with doing so many of his fights and knowing him now and giving him the nickname El Gran Campeón Mexicano, and so I just like him so much. I also like his personal story from starting the drug addiction. Recovery centers that he has in Tijuana and Culiacan. As a young man, I just loved Alexis Arguello. And behind the scenes, I got a chance to know him and just his story. As a fighter, he was always one of my favorites. So, that's one of them. When Tito Trinidad was fighting, I just couldn't wait to see him fight. I just couldn't wait. The crowd, the response, his power. I just thought he was great. I really like Inoue now. He is one of the most fun fighters to be a part of. He is such an expert. He's got everything. And so I just really, for now, he's one of my favorite fighters. I don't know him real well, but I know that he requested me to be part of announcing his fight. So I have a lot of gratitude for him too. But he's a great, great fighter. So those are some of them that I'm sorry I couldn't come up with one.
No, those are excellent fighters, excellent choices. But is there any funny stories that maybe the fans don't know about that comes to mind from any of the fighters, maybe Chavez or Trinidad, Inoue, anything that maybe we would laugh about?
Yeah, well, how about a Tommy Hearns story?
Yes.
Uh, he had a fight in Norfolk, Virginia, one of his later fights, and I was going to arrive the morning of the fight. My fight got delayed so much, and I had his favorite trunks. I was bringing his favorite trunks with me, so I got it packed in my bags. Ended up I was going to cancel. Oh no, Jimmy, you gotta come. You gotta come. You my, favorite trunks. So I made a flight that would get me there just barely in time. and I'm changing into my tuxedo in the small jet, not the big, the small bathroom, and
Oh,
I'm putting it on. I got picked up at the airport, driven straight to the arena. I get into the arena, I'm walking down the aisle, and his opponent's, I'm too late. His opponent is already in the ring, and
oh,
Tommy Hearns is walking down the aisle in his second favorite trunk. So I couldn't deliver it to him, but I jumped
oh.
into the ring and boom, announced that fight, and that was it. So that was a close call, and it was a crazy little memory, a little bit of stress involved as well.
Definitely. I know you have many more, but we'll talk about those. Jim, I'll let you get out of here. Thank you so much for your time. It was a real honor and pleasure talking to you, speaking with you, and wish you best of luck tonight.
Thank you, Johnny. Great to be with you.
You got it. I'll see you soon.